Welcome back to Ploughman's Backyard. I'm Kendra, and today we are actually going to go over some vegetables and some herbs and even some fruit from the dollar store. That's right, the dollar store. If you're anything like me, you want nothing but the best products that you can put into the ground in the garden. I mean, if you're going to grow food for your family, it may as well be organic, heirloom. It may as well be the best products that you can find. If you're going to grow your own food and put the effort in, you want the best things on the plate for your family. So when I think about dollar store seeds or dollar store plants for eating, I'm like, no. One thing that I did notice when I was at the dollar store is that these say non-GMO, which is basically means that they're pretty good. I don't want anything genetically modified. I tend to go heirloom or organic, so non-GMO is right down my alley. And normally I would stay clear of dollar store food item type things. I don't know why, but the thought is that it's not the best quality. And I'm going to take a chance. I'm going to try to grow these because actually these were about $3.25. You get a pot with it. You're getting seeds. They're supposed to be easy to grow and you can start them right away. I thought, hey, if these work and turn out really well, this could be a really inexpensive, really easy way for somebody beginning to grow garden. So I wanted to do just a little mini experiment and see how these work and if they're worth the $3.25 and if they actually amount to anything, because I'm a little bit skeptical, but I'm curious to see if they're actually going to work. So what I ended up getting is some bell peppers, some basil, mini cherry tomatoes, cucumbers, parsley, and strawberries. So let's see if these work. Like I said, I'm skeptical, but hey, let's see if it works, and we're going to find out if you can actually go and get great products from the dollar store. Now that we have these products, let's see what we actually do with them and what you get in it for $3.25. All right, so it looks like you get a pot. Just a plastic pot. Looks sort of like a peat moss, like a jiffy. It's quite thick, as you can see, quite dense. And looks like some strawberry seeds in this one. And this is 207 Regina strawberry. So it says here that the seeds originate in Holland. And for some reason, when I think about dollar store products, I'm thinking about China. So this is kind of neat. We'll see how this works out. I'm not sure how many seeds are in there. There could be 5 or 6. Let's read the instructions. So it says here, the plants can be stored indoors or eventually placed outdoors after danger of last frost. We know that. The best time to start your indoor kit is from mid-February until June. Perfect. We're going into March. It says, 1, fill up a separate bucket or pot of water with 2.5 cups of lukewarm water. Place the pellet in the water and stir until it's fully expanded. So I'm taking that this is the pellet and we're going to put it in 2.5 cups of water until this is expanded. So let's see how big this is going to get. Once the water has been completely absorbed, you can loosen the premium growth mix with a fork, which means once this has absorbed the water, we should be able to fork this. Leave it overnight for best absorption. Okay, so we're not going to be planting the seeds today. So we have to leave this overnight in water. Okay. Is there holes in this? Oh, there isn't. Okay, so it doesn't look like there's any holes. Oh, maybe there is a little bit of a hole. I was going to say maybe we could soak it in this, but there's some small indentations where we have to take out the holes to allow the pot to release water. So, number 2, fill the planter with 95% of the expanded premium growth. All right, so we're going to leave 5% of it aside. Let's see what for. 3, carefully open the seed pack. Place the seeds evenly divided on the premium grow mix, which is that pellet absorbed with water. Place only a tiny bit of grow mix on the seeds. Just a light coating of grow mix is needed to protect the seeds. The seeds also need access to sunlight in order to germinate. So we're going to put this near sunlight, or if you're like me, you have grow lights, I'm going to be putting it under grow lights. These seeds are slow germinators and may take up to 5 weeks to sprout. Whew. Let's see. Important, place the planter in a warm and sunny spot. Best is to rotate the planter a little daily to make sure the sunlight's divided evenly. And 5, keep the medium moist. All right, so I guess that would be the soil once it's absorbed. Best is spraying, but avoid soaking completely. Okay, so we're just going to soak it completely while the pellet grows. All right, growing tips. It's important to feed your plants. When your seedlings reach 2 to 3 inches or 5 to 8 centimeters, use a standard fertilizer and follow the instructions on the package. Give water regularly. Please do not overwater. Do not move your plants outside until after the last frost. Warning, do not eat the seeds. All right. So those are the instructions for our strawberries. So the next step, I guess, is to go around and soak the pellets. Now, just out of curiosity, I'm going to go into these mini tomatoes. I'm going to see if the instructions are a little bit different for the tomatoes than they are the strawberries. We got our pellet, and this tomato is called a sweetie mini tomato. Let's see if there's much difference between the strawberry and the tomato. They're a little bit different, but pretty much the same. So this one was saying it could take 5 weeks to germinate. This one saying it could take 4 weeks to germinate, which is interesting. Normally tomatoes don't always take that long to germinate, the ones that I grow anyways. Like I said, I'm a little skeptical, but I'm curious to see if these are going to work and to see if you can get some good tasting food out of it too. So let's go get soaking. All right, so we've got our lukewarm water, about 2.5 cups, and I'm just going to soak these overnight as the package said. So I'm just going to continue and go ahead and start soaking all the others that I have here, and I will bring you back once we get them all soaked and we'll be ready to plant. We're going to see if we can actually get something good out of these. This thing is just really absorbing. I don't know what it's going to be like. So I just wanted to bring you and show you an observation. It hasn't been overnight yet. It's maybe been about 10 minutes. And you can see I just finished putting this one here in water. And this was the very first one that I did. And look at that. It's like literally like a sponge. And it's heavy. So it has like filled up this whole pot. Anyways, it's kind of neat. Different kind of soil in there. But anyways, it says to let it sit overnight. So some of them did absorb a lot faster. It's kind of like mossy, like peat moss, obviously. So we're just going to leave these. This one's still soaking up. But so far, you know, it's kind of neat. So I'm going to bring you back when it's time to plant the seeds. So what we have here to plant is the pearly moss curled in one of our pots. Mini tomato sweet. So that's our cherry tomato. Then we've got a sweet pepper, a California Wonder for our pepper, and sweet basil. For our cucumber, we've got Marketmore. And again, we've got Regina for our strawberry. And that's what we're going to be planting. Well, it's now time to put the seeds in the pots. So we're going to do that now. And let's see how this part goes. We'll start off planting our strawberries first. But first, what we need to do is take a little bit of the soil out of the pot. It does say to take about 5% of the soil out, and then plant your seeds and then put the soil back onto the seeds. Now you don't want much soil on top of your seeds so that they can get through the soil. So one thing that I did notice with the pellets is they didn't take as long as the instructions said to absorb the water. It said about 24 hours. They were pretty good actually, most of them after about 10 minutes, but I did leave them overnight. I'm just going to remove some of the soil. So as you can see, I didn't remove much, but I'm going to put the seeds in now. And we'll put the remaining soil back on top. And it does say to disperse the seeds evenly in the soil. I want to say there's probably about 30 or 40 seeds in this strawberry seed packet. They're so tiny. Anyway, so we're just going to put the soil back on top. If you can see it or not, but there's not much there. And then it says it's best to spray. When I start my seeds indoors, I always tend to spray because you don't want to overwater, or sometimes all the seeds will pool into a puddle if you're adding too much water. So spraying your seeds for the first little while till they germinate is probably a good idea. And you just want to moisten up all the soil and making sure that the seeds do get some liquid. And not too bad. Next, we'll try the cucumber. Seeds are a bit bigger, so I'm curious to how many seeds are in this one. And again, I'm just going to fluff it up. Now, it says you can use a fork to fluff up the soil, which is probably a good idea. Again, I'm just going to take back about 5% of the soil, or even less, because you don't need much to cover your seeds. Again, this is Market More cucumber, which is a basic cucumber you can find just about anywhere. And they are good. I've grown them, usually Market More, they're more like a field cucumber. But, you know, you can use them for pickling when you pick them small, or you can eat them fresh in salads. They're really good, but they do tend to have like bigger seeds. And there is actually, I don't know if you can see it, but there's 5 seeds in this little pack. So for $3.25, you're getting the pot, the soil, and 5 cucumber seeds, which could be 5 cucumber plants, which isn't bad. Again, disperse them and add back the soil. Just going to moisten them off again. Next, we will do the California sweet red pepper. Just to make it easy, I'm going to put the green in the green containers and the red in the red containers. I want to make sure that that soil is good and fluffy. So once these things germinate, I'll do another video just to let you know if they do and how they do. You can decide or not if it's something that you want to grow heading to the dollar store and picking up your seeds in your pots. So again, we've got 5 pepper seeds. So perhaps that's how many you get in these. And pretty simple. I mean, it saves me from having to wash my old pots from last year. Usually I do a bleach water, clean my pots so I don't bring disease into the next plants in the following year. So not a bad thing. Now, when they do germinate, it does say to, you're going to need to transplant them into bigger pots, which is something that all gardeners know. But if you don't know that, you will need to provide new pots. If we've got 5 seeds in here, we are going to need to have 5 pots. So just plan ahead for that. And I did forget to mention, there are some little spots, holes at the bottom. I haven't poked them out yet, but really you just need to give a good push on them and they actually do come out just for drainage. So just be prepared for that. But there's not enough water in here. I'm not too worried about it yet. All right, so now we will sweet basil. Love growing basil. I love growing herbs. Tomatoes, I mean, there's not much I don't love growing. But a lot of people don't think about, growing herbs. They tend to just plan on growing the usual tomatoes and cucumbers. But we find that we use a lot of herbs in our cooking. And if you are buying your herbs, you'll know that the prices are pretty steep on herbs these days. So growing your own, you can save quite a bit of money. We've been growing summer savory, which my husband loves, and it's been doing really well. But when we went to pick some up at Bulk Barn because we had run out, I think it was, I don't know if it was $80-something a kilogram. So planting herbs is, you need to start them a little bit early like you do peppers, but they're well worth the investment. And some herbs actually are perennials, so you check those out and they'll grow back every year for you. So in our basil, we have about 15 seeds in this one. And basil, once you get growing it, it's really easy to save seeds from the following year. So you can let it go to flower and you can just have your seeds continually. You don't need to buy them every year. Again, this was just a little experiment. I wanted to see if these dollar store items would actually be good and would work. Okay, next we have the mini sweet cherry tomato. I'll plant that. Be prepared to get messy. All right, let's see how many seeds are in the cherry tomatoes. So there's 5 seeds in the cherry tomatoes packet. They're very tiny. And last but not least, it is the parsley moss curled. Now I generally like getting my parsley, I like getting the flat leaves. I think it's the Italian parsley, I think. But this will do, we'll try it out. The only reason I really like growing the flat leaves parsley is because when you're putting them out in the garden and you're watering or it's raining, you don't get the splashback of the dirt stuck on the flat leaves, whereas the curly moss leaves, sometimes there tends to get dirt stuck in there and they're a little bit more awkward to wash. So it's not a big deal, but for me, I like to pick the things that make my life a little bit easier. There's a good amount. I don't even know if there's maybe 30 of them in there. There's a good amount. Not bad. I think I would recommend not taking even 5% out of the soil, maybe even 2%. You don't need to cover it all that much. So just make sure you give them a good soaking down with the nice sprayer. Again, I picked this up here at the dollar store as well for about $4 or $5. And there you have it. They're all planted. And I'm just going to go stick them on. We have a little bit of a different system this year. Usually I have a greenhouse stand with a broad spectrum grow lights with the red and the blue and it's purple. It's a full spectrum and they're one of my favorite grow lights to grow. But this year we're trying something a little different. I'm still going to use both, but I'm going to start my other seeds with the other grow lights. And this year we actually just picked up some lights from Costco that we're going to try out, and I'm just going to put those under there and we'll see if they grow and how long it takes to grow. So I want you to stick around for the next video on this to see if these actually germinated, and you'll know if the dollar store little seed kits are worth getting. And even stick around a little bit even later into the growing season, because we'll be tasting these and see how they do, which I'm kind of excited for. Really, there is no work hardly at all with this. And if you're just having a small garden or if you're in the city, these are great to pick up. And you can even just transplant these into a little pot outside if you have a little backyard or a balcony. These would be great in pots to grow. And there's essentially, you don't need all this to spend all this money on equipment. Even putting this in the sunlight in your closest window or largest window where you get the most sunlight in a warm spot, you can grow these just about anywhere. And really, I mean, I spent maybe $20 on or less on the 6 of these. So we've got all of our dollar store grow kits here. Things have germinated, and that's exactly what we want to happen. So far, they have all germinated except the strawberry and the peppers. It's been about a week and a half. The first things that actually popped up were the cucumbers. And 4 have popped up, and I think we planted 5. So I'm waiting to see if that 5th one is going to work or if maybe it wasn't viable. The next thing that popped up was the tomatoes, and we've got 4 little tomato plants in here as well, and I know I planted 5. So waiting to see if another one's going to pop up with that. And this next one here is supposed to be parsley. I've got one that's popped up in this one, and I believe this one is the basil. And I think there was maybe 30 seeds of basil. So far, we have about 5 little basil plants in there. I'm super excited. Love basil. Gotta have basil. Yeah, and then one of these 2, I don't know which one is which, but we're gonna find out. One's a strawberry, one's a pepper. Nothing has come up yet. So this is your grow kit update from the dollar store. So all these plants, most of them came from the dollar store, but not all of them. But I'm just going to point out what has worked fantastic and what has taken a bit longer, but they all seem to be doing really well. And I'm going to let you know that I have been super happy with them. So if you're thinking about getting the grow kits from the dollar store, I'd say go right ahead. Look at the cucumber plants. We had to, so they came with 4. So I've got 4 cucumber plants here that are actually starting to grow cucumbers, believe it or not, in the house. You can see that the cucumbers have started to grow, which isn't really a great thing. So I had to start these a little bit earlier than I normally would, just so you could see how they grew, so you could plant them yourself. Anyways, we got 4 cucumber plants. They've done super well. There is some discoloration on them. Again, it's way too early to plant your cucumbers, but this was just a trial to see how they did, and they're doing fantastic. We had to separate them because we grew all 4 in one container, and we had to divide them up into other containers. Not only that, but we had to give them a little bit of fertilizer just because they're getting a little bit too big for their pots, and I do need to upsize them. So making sure they've got nutrition is really important if you're starting them early like I did. If you're thinking like, how are you going to be fertilizing your plants? Usually what I do is I add Epsom salts, Calphos, manure, worm castings, making sure that I've got vermiculate, a good pro mix garden mix. But hey, if you don't have any of those things on hand, or maybe you don't know where to get it, you can actually go to our Amazon link. I'll leave it below, and you can pick up some fertilizer, which is a pro mix fertilizer. This one is organic based, tomatoes, vegetables, and fruits garden fertilizer. It's a liquid form. You don't need much, just add it to the water as you're watering your plants. This is a great option if you don't know where to get all the amendments for the soil that I have. So this is a great option for you if you need to fertilize your plants. If you don't have time to always be upsizing your plants, go ahead and pick some of this up. We've checked it out. It's not a miracle grow, so you don't need to worry about those nasty chemicals or anything like that. This is like an all-natural fertilizer. So it's got nitrogen, it's got phosphoric acid, potash, and organic matter. That's all that's in this. And if you are unable to get it online at our Amazon link, you can also go to your local hardware store and pick some of this up. The other thing that we have is I started a couple weeks ago the oregano. It's coming up, but it's really slow, as you can see. The next thing that we started right off the bat, if you remember our first video, was our strawberries. And they have taken a lot longer than the other plants, but they are growing fantastic, and there is a lot in there. So what I'm going to be doing is dividing them up and putting these in my raised beds. And I've actually left these right in the soil that it came with, so I haven't transplanted them at all. I don't think I'll have to until I get them outside. The other thing that we have is the pepper plants. This is the pepper plants from the grow kit itself. And I believe we had 4 or 5 of them, and this is how big they've grown. So there's still a couple weeks left until I can put them outside. So I'm quite happy with the size and the timing that I did plant these. Now, the pepper plants, along with the tomato plants that I've grown, we have had to upsize them a few times because they do require a lot of nutrition, and the soil that was in the grow kits wasn't sustaining their nutritional need. We've got some tomatoes. These are the tomato grow kits, and I believe these are the mini tomatoes. So these would be the cherry tomatoes. And as you can see, they're doing really, really well. Transplanted them a few times, and I actually need to upsize them again. And making sure that they get a lot of nutrition, a lot of nitrogen, and if you need to fertilize them, you go right ahead. Because again, basically the seeds that came in the grow kits are pretty much the same as you're going to get at the store. So there was nothing wrong with the plants itself. I would say the soil was a great way to start the seeds. This is our parsley from the dollar store grow kit, and we have 4 or 5 of these. This one's a bit smaller, but you can see the parsley has done super well. We love parsley. We're really happy with that. We have about 4 of the basil. Now the basil, oh man, I could smell it. Oh my goodness, it's so, oh, I love basil. Who doesn't love basil? Anyways, this is discoloration on my part, not anything to do with the seed or the plant or the grow kit. I need to upsize this just because it's getting a little big, and it needs a little bit more nutritional value. Plus, I could have had it a little bit too close to our grow lights. So that's on me. But I would say, you know, if you're thinking about spending, you know, the $3 that it takes to get the grow kit, I would highly recommend it. The money that you're spending on the grow kit, it's well worth it. You get to keep the pots for the following year, which is awesome. I picked up another one because, you know, I didn't have it and had to have it. I picked up a lavender, so I haven't even started this one yet. And it says easy to grow, anyone can grow it. And I'm gonna back that up and say it is true. Even if you have a backyard garden or even if you have a balcony garden, go ahead, pick some of these up because I know you're gonna be super happy with them. I've got my harvest bucket. Let's go see what's in the garden and what we can pick. First, we're looking at our raised beds where I did the strawberries. I threw a couple cucumber plants in here just because I needed the space, but we've got cucumbers. Beautiful looking cucumber. So this is one of our dollar store grow kit cucumbers. So it's been a slow start, but as you can see, things are coming along. So don't get discouraged. My garden didn't look too good in my July tour, especially when you're cold climate gardening. It tends to be a little later that you get your crop, but it doesn't mean you're not going to get any. The herbs just keep coming. And we've done about 4 cuttings of our herbs. I'm going to have to come for like another 5th, probably in the next week. I'll have to get some more parsley picked. So we really haven't had the heat this year to really make these ripen up. So I've been picking them just a little bit. I mean, this one's pretty good, but I've been picking them a little bit more on the yellow side and taking them in, and they seem to ripen up okay. Typically, I love to pick them when they're red on the vine, but we're just not having that good heat that we need. And this here is actually our sweet pepper that we got from the dollar store grow kit. I planted it in the greenhouse. It's doing okay. It hasn't come along very far, but it is growing. Gardening can take practice, a lot of lessons, a lot of trial and error. One, because you're not only depending on your ability to grow something, but you're depending on the weather, the environment around you, plus your conditions of your soil. There are a lot of factors at play when it comes to gardening. And don't think that because your garden isn't doing well that it's your fault and that you do not have a green thumb. And once you get the hang and skill of knowing those factors and being able to work with them and around them, I guarantee you'll have a green thumb.